Hola mi gente and welcome. It is Saturday, April 25th, and you are listening to my podcast, Freak of Nature. The first thing I wanted to do this week before we got into our discussion, it's really not a discussion, it's more of a monologue. I was noticing today that there are several podcasts that call themselves Freak of Nature. I am obviously one of the newer ones, but what's important to know is that Freak of Nature, as it is used for this brand that I'm trying to develop, is part of my one-woman show. The word freak is actually an acronym. So it is very, very different from the other ones. No one else is presenting it as an acronym. So the F, the R, the E, the A, and the K are the first letters of the 5 things that I am proposing everybody needs to do to remain a freak of nature as they age. And hopefully they will age like I have. So that's the first thing. I wanted to just explain that freak really should be an acronym. And even on my t-shirt that I'm wearing, I don't have it as such just because there was no room across my little, my, not little chest, but my narrow body to get all those little dots after the letters. But in any case, I just wanted to make that distinction so that people know what to look for. We are going to correct that on the whatever. So that said, because I don't know what the answer to the on the, I do want to give a shout out to my tech support with benefits, my wonderful producer. Many of you will know him as DJ Coho. DJ Coho, and you know exactly who I'm talking about. That would be my producer, my wonderful man, Alex Miranda. And he is the one who has set this all up. I do have to give him a shout out because, I have my limitations. He's really, really good at this. And so this podcast has actually given him an opportunity to develop his skills as somebody in the field. So I want to definitely give a shout out to my boo, my tech support with benefits, my geek under the sheets, my geek squad under the sheets. So again, you're listening to Freak of Nature, and if you're not already, please, I invite you to follow me on Instagram at Latin Diva of Comedy, on Facebook, Sara Contreras, comedian, on YouTube, Sara Contreras, TikTok, at Latin Diva Comedy, and on iTunes and Spotify, it is called Freak of Nature. I want to also thank a couple of really, really good people who took the time to not only listen to my podcast, but to share it. That meant the world to me. This is a new venture for me, and I really, really thought that it was wonderful of them to take the time. I know that it was on Spotify. A lot of people were saying, oh, I gotta download it, and it just kind of, I don't know, it didn't feel fun that a lot of people didn't listen to it who I thought would have listened to it by now and shared it. So it was nice that Roman Suarez, who's wonderful, he is just one of the best human beings I know. You can follow him on Instagram at The Funny Latino, and Yesenia Ortiz, who is so hilarious. Follow her on Instagram at Yesenia Graham. This is a new podcast. It's in the nascent stages, so it is going to develop. And also Yesenia was fabulous. She gave me so many podcasting tips. So shout out to you, and gracias mi hermana. It's always good to have people looking out for one another. It is one of the complaints that I've had through the 22, 23 years I've been doing this, that, we don't support as much as we should. Nuestra raza sometimes, it's like you got to drag people out, and I just don't see it happening with a lot of other people who have supported their comic that represents their culture. They come out. They spend the money on the tickets. They come out and they support when they need to. So I really appreciate Yesenia. She has always been someone that I could count on to do that. I also want to thank my sponsor, organicalseo.com. They do pay-per-click marketing and search engine optimization and website design and development. Fantastic organization. If you are ready to put your business back into high gear when this lockdown ends, please think about calling Organical SEO, one of the best companies, if not the best company in the New York, New Jersey, and across the entire country. But I know they handle a lot of business out here. So I wanted to also thank everybody who commented and gave me feedback about the first podcast that we did last week. I got some very good feedback, and I appreciate people letting me know, yeah, you should have said this, you should have said that. So what I wanted to talk about this week is this whole notion. I called it Huevitos versus Totitos. Why are more men dying from COVID-19? Obviously not a funny topic, but it is something that when you discuss it is just so ripe for comedy, because in the end, it is all about anatomy, to some people. So I found some really great articles. We started to notice that men have died of the COVID-19 at a notably higher rates than women in China, South Korea, Italy, and the United States. So the fact is that it's not something that is just something that's happening here. In the cases, in all of the countries that have had mass outbreaks, we are noticing that more men than women are dying. In fact, in New York City, 68% of the deaths are attributed to men from COVID-19 versus 32% in women. So that's when I said, let me look into this, because this is a fascinating development. So what I did is I checked a couple of different articles and I did my research. I mentioned to you the last time I did the show that I happen to be a psycholinguist, I'm an educator, and so I like doing research. That's part of what goes into getting degrees and doing research and, getting all this stuff. Oh God, I sound like Trump. I keep pulling in like that. I would fall. I don't want to sound anything like him. I think it's also because I forgot to take my braces out. I do wear Invisaligns, and sometimes the breathing becomes a little bit challenged when I'm trying to talk as much as I am now. So just whatever, know that I am not breathing because of cocaine or anything stupid like that. Not that it's stupid, I'm sorry, but it's just not stupid. It is stupid, thank you, Bobby. It's just not for me. Never liked it, too expensive. Had it at my beck and call when I was growing up and just passed, so anyway. So I did my research. I found a couple of different theories, 3 of them actually, which I found fascinating. So I want to impart some wisdom, have some fun with it, and like I said, I'm an educator first. Before I do anything, before I'm a comic, before I'm a writer, everybody will know me as an educator. I love imparting wisdom. I love getting wisdom from people. So if I have something and this is something that you feel that makes sense, please let other people know about this and tell me what your thoughts are. So the first thing that came up, this was from a study that is not yet published, and it's important to let people know it's all statistics. Men, because they are more consistently drinkers. Apparently, alcohol has something to do with it. Okay, men are twice as likely to binge drink as women. Now, if you're like me and you love the Housewives series, that franchise, I don't watch them all, but I am a fiend for Housewives of New York. I watched New York, New Jersey, Ocean County, and Beverly Hills, and Atlanta. Those are my 5. I stopped after that because that was already a lot. But I've been doing it for 10 years, so it's hard to stop. I'm sort of invested at this point. But if you saw this week's version of the New York Housewives of New York, y'all, them chicks were crazy. They got so drunk. They trashed Ramona's beautiful Southampton home. It was hilarious. These chicks were just bugging out. But the point is, it's more women, more men that do that. We just hear about it more about women. Alcohol has been known to have a long-standing association with adverse immune-related health factors like susceptibility to pneumonia, acute respiratory distress syndrome, and a slower recovery from infection. Alcohol is fun, but it's not good for your immune system. That's why I don't drink. I gave it up 2 years ago because I made a decision that I like my liver and I like my immune system. I'm getting older. You have to make choices to keep yourself healthy. And actually, I do talk about that as part of that freak of nature type thing. It is embedded in those in that part of the show. So the first thing is the alcohol. So that's going to be an issue. That was the first thing that they were saying that could be a factor. But then there was more. They had to figure out it couldn't just be alcohol. Then they said, well, there's smokers. Twice as many men smoke than women. So they thought between the alcohol, between the smoking, that's why men are dying more. Well, they kept studying and doing research. Listen, it's been 5-6 weeks. So now they're coming to the meat and potatoes, which is what I think is what's happening. Now, It is the huevitos. In the end, and we love our huevitos. Come on. I remember as a kid watching my mother, whenever there was a little boy, here's a huevito de mama, and you just kind of touch the huevitos on the baby, and you go, mira, un poquito para mí, un poquito para Titi, un poquito, and they would like make believe that they were sharing these little huevitos, like there was this precious little snack. Please let me know I am not the only Latina that went through that. Every once in a while they would do it with the totito, but it was the huevitos because they're outside, they're visible, they're hanging there like just two little walnuts. You can't help it. And so they are important to our culture. There is that, this thing, and then we grow up and then we have bigger huevitos. But so I kept finding all these articles about the huevitos. I saw one in the New York Post. I saw one in the LA Times. I said, what is this? What are they saying about the huevitos? And then I found the study that really, really nailed it. It was performed by the Department of Oncology at Montefiore Medical Center, Albert Einstein College of Medicine. Hey, go to Bronx and Manhattan. They released a study. They did this study, and obviously it was in the last couple of weeks, that the novel coronavirus has a greater incidence among males. And the reason for this gender disparity and disease severity, because they're not just getting it more often, they're getting it really bad. Because let's face it, you have to know the difference. Coronavirus is the virus. It's a novel coronavirus, novel implying that it's new. We don't understand that much about it. But it's the COVID-19 that is killing everybody. It's not the virus that kills you, it's the COVID-19. So the idea is to not get that sick that you end up on a ventilator. And men are the ones that are just ending up on ventilators and not coming home. So they're saying in this study that men have a pair of vulnerabilities that predispose them to longer, more severe illnesses. And that pair is their testicles, the huevitos, okay? The testes, okay, apparently harbor the virus in men. It provides a sanctuary from the immune system. So the testes become like the wall on Game of Thrones. It's supposed to keep you safe, but it keeps out. It doesn't act in the same way as the rest of your immune system does. Now let me explain how the coronavirus cells work. They are attracted to certain types of structures because they have a protein called angiotensin converting enzyme 2, or ACE2 proteins. And I have seen these, I've seen articles that have mentioned these ACE2 proteins, which is also the reason why I wanted to study this. These proteins are receptor cells. We have them everywhere. We have them in our lungs, we have them in our gastrointestinal tract, and we also have them in the heart. And they're all vulnerable to be attacked by this disgusting virus. Okay, that's the virus that causes the COVID-19. Now, the testicular tissue pumps out more of that ACE2 at a very high rate. So the tissue that surrounds the testicles is producing this protein that the coronavirus is going to attach to. That protein is a receptor. So the virus is looking for receptors. They're tucked away in these neat little testicles that are not the same. They are not part of the immune system the way the rest of a man's body is. And guess what? Ovarian tissue doesn't. We don't have those types of receptor cells. So the testes, which is another word for the testicles, are like a quiet little corner of the man's body where the virus can wall itself off and elude the body's immune system. So you see, all this time that we've had this patriarchal society, right now, them patriarchal little huevitos are working against you guys. We are now the ones that are fortunate in the sense that Totito is helping us out. That Totito is serving us. We finally have the up and up because of our sweet little Totitos. Go ahead. Go ahead. I mean, look, I'm not happy about it, but I just can't help but just think about, oh, bendito, the poor little huevitos. It's being explored, and I do think that it makes some kind of sense, along with the other factors that I mentioned before. good Lord, if you have testicles that are serving to block off your immune system, look, I'm not saying cut them off, bendito, but just be aware that that's all the more reason why men have to stop hanging out, running around in the streets, chilling with their boys, just stopping over real quickly. Nah, I'm young, it's not gonna affect me. Nah, I'm just gonna go out real quickly, and nah, I'm not gonna be putting on no mask. What? The president doesn't put a mask on. Well, we all know that's a different set of standards. All the more reason why men have twice as much of a reason to be diligent about practicing social distancing. Your huevitos are, they're selling you out, man. They're traitorous little things right now that are making you susceptible to COVID-19. Now, that was the second point. Bendito, me da una pena. Ese huevito, ese huevito. Ese huevito de mamá, que ahora está bien flojito. El huevito flojito. That's what I'm saying. So, yeah, that was the second point that I wanted to make. And I tell you, it's fascinating. It's really, really fascinating. So, yeah, and guys, please, do not soak your huevitos in Fabuloso right now. Don't get the freaking Lysol or the Mictolin, and no, be Vaporub, and don't vapor rub your testicles. That's not gonna help, guys. Don't inject them. Don't blow like, healing. It's not that that's your genetics, papa. We're gonna talk about genetics in a second. But the point is, don't be spraying your stuff. It's not gonna help. I'm just saying that's the reason why more men are dying. And there is a third reason, which is the first thing that I actually read about, and it fascinated me. That's why I said I gotta talk about this on the podcast. And it boils down to basic genetics, chromosomes. Okay, let's do a little review. And remember, we all have genetic information. It's stored in 23 pairs of chromosomes. Okay, that 23rd pair, and each set of chromosomes is going to carry the genetic information for different parts of who you are. But that 23rd pair of chromosomes are two very special chromosomes, right? Because that 23rd pair of chromosomes determines the sex, the gender. Females have a pair of XX, whereas males have an XY. You get one set, the 23, it's like a thread. And on that thread, there's 23 chromosomes. And what is a chromosome? A chromosome is basically like a set of proteins. It's basically a genetic information, right? It's, I'm really testing myself here. So, men have XY, women have XX. Now, I am not making a statement about what you are when you're born. I am just talking about what I understood as genetics when I was studying all this stuff in school. Clearly, there are issues now where, transgender, people who don't feel comfortable with the gender that was assigned at birth. That's another podcast. I'm simply going from the history of chromosomes and gender and sex. So this guy, this Dr. Molam, he's a scientist and a physician. He goes one step further, right, than all that other stuff about the testicles being walled off from the immune system. He has a book that's coming out called The Better Half. The Better Half on the Genetic Superiority of Women. Yeah, baby. He too believes that the cure lies in a better understanding of our chromosomes. He is convinced that for us to be able to tackle this awful new coronavirus that really no one knows anything about, and they're talking about a year before a reliable vaccine is available. He too says we have to look at chromosomes, and this is his theory. X chromosomes are good for building and maintaining the human brain, and the immune system. That X chromosome is the one that is genetically built into our systems to protect and stimulate and maintain that immune system. Women have two of them, okay? Men only have one. So think about it. If your parents hook up, you get one set of chromosomes from daddy, you got another set from mommy, and if you are lucky enough to get an XX, then you have double the ability to remain immune from disease. Okay? So, there's nothing you can really do about that, because even if you do say, I don't really think that I was born a girl, a female, but I'm going to be one, if you don't have that XX, okay, if that theory holds, right, you are still going to carry the genetic information that contains a Y chromosomes. So it's just something to think about, and I found this so fascinating. I think it's fascinating because I think it is going to inform if this is being taken seriously, if it's really being analyzed in terms of the potential for finding cures and for developing a vaccine. That I think we're going to hear more and more about it in the coming months. Scientists are looking at this. I'm definitely going to be looking out for this book because look, we know it. I've always said it. We're smarter. We're stronger. We're freaks of nature. This is why we, I think, look better when we get to a certain point. You know, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm seeing a lot of men just falling apart. And I'm not saying it with glee. I know it sounds like I am. But this is just the inner rage that has been festering from this patriarchy, from, you know, having dealt with the machismo in my culture, watching my dad just tell my mother, no, así es porque yo soy el hombre de la casa, porque así es, porque yo dije que así es. I used to watch my dad do that with my mom constantly. And my poor mom, you know, she just did it because that's how she was raised. Those were the norms that were acceptable at that time. And that's why I think I am as strong as I am, because I watched that and I made a decision early on. Mira, te mala mierda con eso. Right? I already knew I was never going to be that woman that was going to have a man make decisions for me about my livelihood, make decisions about money, make decisions about when I was going to retire. My dad did all of that. I watched that patriarchy firsthand, and I watched it with, you know, extended family and so on and so forth. I've seen it less and less because clearly with the development of the attitude that women are just as bad and we are going to, you know, get paid the same, it's still a struggle. You know, we all know that nurses and teachers and social work, that was you know, those were careers that were underpaid because it was mostly women. Let's not kid ourselves. Those fields only started paying better when men started becoming nurses, when men started becoming teachers, when men started becoming social workers. As long as it was a female-driven career, we can give them whatever. But as soon as men got involved, those salaries didn't spike out of interest for being fair. It's because they knew they weren't going to get away with giving men those salaries. So, you know, seeing that, and then of course dealing with sexism in comedy, I dealt with it all the time. I dealt with it constantly. What are you going to do? You're going to let it stop you? No. You just see it and you walk away from it, or you deal it, or, you know, you deal with it directly. But, you know, we know how it manifests. 4 guys on a show, 1 female, and every female waiting for the next show to come up and hoping that they might get a spot. But I digress. The point is, this news is somewhat balancing the scales a little bit, because clearly, you know, patriarchy is not a great thing. But I do remember once reading about a study, I think it was Margaret Mead, I'm not sure who the anthropologist was, that oh gosh, I forgot how it be, you know, way back. Oh gosh, I'm totally at a blank. But that in early societies, women, they were not patriarchal societies. They were matriarchal. And women ran things, and women were polygamous, more than one lover, because they needed men to serve different functions as they were running their villages. So she kept a lover because he would bring fat. She kept another lover because he would bring skins. She kept another lover. I gotta find this study. I'll find it for one of my future podcasts. Now the point is, I'm tired of the patriarchy. And you know what? I'm sorry men are dying from this more than women, but We are some badasses that need to be paid the same. We are some badasses that need to be acknowledged as the monsters that we are, and not monsters like I call it, who's running things in this country. I don't even give him a name anymore. He's the monster. Monsters in terms of being badass beasts that are equally, if not more qualified. What we do know from these studies is that we do live longer. We're living longer, and we're living healthily longer. And now I can say that there may be some real biological explanation for it because of these types of studies. I welcome them. I hope we get more information about it. Again, I am not saying that I want men to be sick. Again, I'm using this as a call to being more responsible, to understanding that you are more at risk, guys. You are more at risk. The statistic, the science is in. If you are listening to the propaganda that's coming from the other side and you think that this is nothing, well, prepárate. That's the only thing I can tell you, because yesterday, my man will tell you, right, honey? I was crying my eyes out over a 32-year-old who was healthy. And he went in, they sent him home, he went back, and within like 3 weeks, at 32 years of age, he passed. I couldn't stop crying. Why? My son is 35. My son is the only one that is going out and is working in a brick and mortar store, and every single day I worry about my boy. And I worry because I know people don't take this seriously. I know he does. I know Shake Shack does. He's a manager. He's running things. They're doing great, but I worry constantly. So when I hear about this nonsense, it's not funny anymore. This is a risk that everyone is exposed to. So please, please take this as seriously as we do. I want this to be fun, but I also want this to be, like I said, something that does motivate. Maybe if one additional person decides to say, you know what, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to stop going out. Then I've served my purpose. We also have to be careful as women, but stuff is tucked away. We have internal reproductive organs, and they're fabulous. Apparently, bendito, because they're external, and that could be why. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe that's why it just doesn't function in the same way for immunity. I'm fascinated by this. I just don't understand it. Like, what are you saying? That if you get a disease, like, I don't know, it's just unusual to think that your testicles are kind of walled off from the rest of your body. I'm so bad. I can't help it. Just the word testicle makes me laugh. There are certain words that are funny. Like testicles is a funny word to me. Every time I hear it, I start to laugh. It's just a funny word. Panty. Panty is a funny word. Like that. Honey, what's a funny word that makes you laugh?
Oh.
You don't know. Think about it. Like there's some words that, you just kind of cover your mouth because they're just funny. Testicles for me is one of them. It just, see, look, he's laughing. I said it again and he laughed. And then testicles just themselves, they're just interesting little creatures. You guys, when you're sitting on a plane, I understand you need your legs open because some of you guys have some. Wow. Should I say anything, honey? DJ Gojo, I was like, you need a wheelbarrow for that thing, puppy. That's like, those are some really heavy hitters right there. I just felt like, un carrito algo, because a sling. He needs a sling. Those are some bad boys. Those are some
Puerto Rican said panties.
Panties. Yeah, panties is funny. That's a really, really funny word. Panties. No, I can't even say it. It makes me laugh because when I hear it, I know I can't say it. Hospitalización. See? You laugh. Hospitalización. Like you have to get the hospitalización. So that word, I just, panties, hospitalización, testicles. Toto doesn't make me laugh. Totito's cute. I think just Huevitos, yeah. But testicles, that's just, see, I can't say. Bite.
She said bite.
Who's that?
Bite.
Oh, bite? I don't know about bite making me laugh. Testicles is definitely All right, here's another nipple. Nipple, I think is funny. That word nipple makes me crack up. See, I smile for no reason, and I don't think it's because it's sexual. Because I like to keep these podcasts to about maybe 25, 30 minutes. How much time have I done so far, baby?
About 35.
Yeah, 25, 30 minutes. I personally, unless there's a guest and there's a really interesting dialogue and conversation going on, I think it's just nice to keep it short and sweet and try to get the points across. I'm going to have guests on, though. I'm excited. I'm developing a guest list that's going to include musicians, comedians, writers, authors. Honey, who else did we talk about? A politician, a couple of
journalist.
reporters from the Daily News. So I'm excited about the interest, and I hope that this has imparted some wisdom. As always, I want to make this an opportunity to promote dialogue, to promote learning. We are falling into this place, and I'm proud to say that I don't turn on that TV until the end of the day. I am back to doing my teletherapy. For those of you who don't know, I also am a speech therapist, and I work with a charter school in Newark part-time. It is something that I will never stop doing because I love doing therapy. I love supporting my special needs students, and I love Newark. So I want to be a part of that team that is doing a great job. Shout out to Roseville Community Charter School. That's my second home. A staff that is remarkable, a principal who's remarkable. And so I am able to do stuff during the day and keep me super busy. And I think working from home is actually more work than going to work. But, putting the TV on, it's easy to fall into that cycle where you're just relying on the TV to occupy your time. This is an opportunity to maybe do a little bit of research and maybe read up on that and look for this guy, Dr. Moalem's new book, The Better Half, on the genetic superiority of women. I'm going to look it up. I have 3 books I'm reading now. It's unbelievable, right, honey? I'm reading Naomi Klein's last book, The Case for the Green, Fungal, anyway. And a book called The War on All Puerto Ricans. So, take a book out, write something, do something other than just watching TV all day. Hey, we owe it to ourselves to stay busy, to stay productive, and to stay hopeful. With that, I am saying that this has been a fabulous time with you. I enjoyed it. And again, this is in its nascent stage, so bear with me. We're going to be working on the glitches, and it is going to blossom into what I hope to be a super, super important and successful, productive, and remarkably unforgettable podcast. Don't forget, follow me on Latin Diva Comedy on Instagram, Sara Contreras Comedian on Facebook, my website, saracontreras.com, and
TikTok.
Oh, and then TikTok.
Jesus.
My producer's gonna strangle me one day. TikTok at Latin Diva Comedy, iTunes, and Spotify. Again, this is available. I don't wanna hear it. I give everybody a pass on the first little one, introductory on the second one. But if my friends and family have not started to tune in, there will be blood. With that, I'm signing off. Thank you for listening.